this episode of Best Friends at Work, we talked with Kellie Murray, a woman who walked away from her six-figure corporate career in her mid-50s to become a Southwest Airlines flight attendant. Her story is funny, fearless, and full of heart. During our time with her, Kellie shared a realization that changed everything for her, that she could do hard things. What started out as a scuba lesson became a life lesson about courage, reinvention, and living a life on her own terms.
What I started doing is trying to do things that were hard and that scared me. And I started with becoming a scuba diver about 3 years ago. And that's another thing that I had always wanted to do, but always thought, oh, I can't because it's too expensive. Oh, I can't because I'm too heavy. Oh, I can't because it's too this or it's too that. And I always talk myself out of it.
I can't because I'm old.
Yeah, I can't because I'm too old. And so I said, you know what? This is something you've wanted to do for a long time. And it's something that's really kind of scary, but I want to try to do something that makes me live outside my world. COVID had just happened, or COVID, and I felt my world shrinking. I felt my world getting smaller. I had not done anything since maybe like putting myself through college or something like that was hard. I mean, everything in life was just reasonably easy. I had a job that was reasonably easy to do. It was reasonably easy to do this. It was and I hadn't done anything that was really, really scary for me in a long, long time. And when I started taking the scuba classes and I put on that 50-pound pack and got in that swimming pool for the very first time, I was flopping around like a drunken sea turtle. Seriously. Just slapping around, getting choked, gasping for breath, freaking out at the bottom of the pool and shooting up to the top, which is the first thing you're not supposed to do. And I am like, shit, what am I doing? Yeah. What in the world am I thinking? Why am I doing this? This is crazy. This is stupid. I should have done this 30 years ago. But I didn't want to quit. And part of that is, I think, proving to myself that I can do hard things, because through much of my life, if it was hard, I just stopped. This is too hard. I'm not going to do it because of XYZ excuses. And having a 13-year-old daughter, I didn't want her to see her mom quit because something was too hard.
Stay tuned. Kellie's story will inspire you to take your own leap, no matter your age, limiting beliefs, stage of career, or life. I'm Lauren Mask. Please join me and my best friends at work, Naomi Lippin and Mel Boyd Brown, where we invite experts to talk about work, life, and leadership, and how to do them better. Naomi. Hey, Mel. I'm so excited to see you guys. How are you doing? Oh, you're on mute, Mel.
What are we? 2020?
I don't care. I'm still I'm teaching and I still start going blah 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 blah. And somebody goes, Lauren, you're on mute. I'm like, oops. I think that's the new thing of the 20s, right? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Right.
You're on
Yes.
mute.
Yes.
You're a mute.
Yes. Yep.
Maybe these things will start to get really sophisticated and unmute us automatically. No, that wouldn't be good either. Oh, well, anyway, how are you guys doing?
I just thought of all the times I shouldn't be unmuted. Sorry, when you said that, I was like, oh no, that would be a bad thing. I'm well. It is a sunny day finally here because we've had a
Uh,
lot of snow and a lot of clouds. And so that's kind of nice to see the sun. What about you guys?
we have to. I have a cold.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But
Mm.
at least it's not RSV or
Yeah,
something worse.
right. Yeah, it's
So,
just one of those annoying head things. It's not a debilitating cold. It's more like the whole stuffy
mm-hmm.
head
Mm-hmm.
feeling. I almost wanted to go into the Alka-Seltzer stuffy head feeling so you can't sleep. Commercials, they've ruined us. How are you doing, Naomi?
I am feeling good. I'm looking forward to my daughter coming home or coming here over the weekend, and we will continue shopping for her bridal gowns, dresses next week. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, we did 1 week, but she starts her new job the first week of March, and so next week we really like the pressure's on to find a dress.
Yeah, because it always takes a while to put those together, but it's so exciting. Weddings are
Yeah, it
so
is. It is.
fun. They're
It
so
is.
fun. And knowing your daughter, it's going to be beautiful and gorgeous with her style. She's so stylish and stuff.
She is. She is. Yeah.
So,
So,
yay.
that will be a focal point. Although, there are I have a couple of gigs next week also, right? But, just taking it all in, as busy as we may be, I'm grateful that I'm here.
Hey, I know, right? I look forward to every time we get to do this. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's not to be cheesy, best friends at work's the podcast, but it's like you guys are also my best friends. So, but speaking of best friends,
Yeah.
I am so
Yeah.
excited about our guest today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am too.
Me too. Be really good to
Can't
see
wait to
her.
see her.
I know, I
Hmm.
know. Well, I won't keep you guys in suspense for too much longer. So, for our audience and our guests, our guest, I mean, can I try that one more time? Blah, 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 tongue twister. Okay, for our listeners, our guest today is a woman named Kellie Murray, who I have known since she and I were 18 years old. So I've known
Like
this
just for
girl,
like a few years then.
yeah, just a couple, just a couple. She has been a school teacher. She's worked in the film business. She's worked in training, and her last job was at a healthcare insurance company training leaders, much like the work that we've done and we do. And then one day, on a whim, she put in an application to be a flight attendant for Southwest Airlines. And then by a long shot, and this airlines is not easy to get into, she got a job with them. And it's such a great story. So, and some people, our listeners might be thinking, okay, so what? Big change. But this big change, right? It happened in her 50s with a husband and teenager at home. So she made this huge leap at not a young age, right? So
Mm,
I'm excited to bring her on because so many people are afraid to make drastic changes in their lives at any age, much less 50s. I mean, the three of us, we're all career changers,
yeah.
right?
Sure.
But not like I feel like not so crazy drastic
Adjunct, yeah. Like
as this, right?
yeah.
So let's
Hmm.
bring Kellie in, and because she's
Absolutely.
a lot more
Hmm.
interesting to talk to than me about her. All right, here we go. Here she comes. Here she comes. She's coming.
He's coming.
I know she is. I can see her there. She's searching for that unmute button, just like you, Mel.
I think we
Kellie.
got it. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Kelly.
So
Thank you for
good to
having me on.
Oh
Well,
my gosh, it's so good to see you.
we are super excited to have you on because, well, all three of us know you. And we were talking a few weeks ago, I guess, about, future guests who would be great, and I thought, what about Kelly, who, for our listeners, at one point she was going to be one of our co-hosts, but because of her crazy career change, it became too hard. But we said, okay, you have to come on as a guest. I said, hey, here's a crazy lady who in her mid 50s decided to become a flight attendant and leave
Yep.
her
Yep.
crazy, like really good stability, high paying job. And so, why don't you take a moment to like just share us our story, Kelly? Where do you want to start?
Wow. Yeah. And is it crazy or stupid? I'm still not sure. Still not sure. It's been about a year almost. Um, it's interesting. I've done a lot of things, in my life. I thought I wanted to be an actress when I was little. I was going to be famous. I was going to be, a famous movie star. And it went from, doing that to thinking I would be a theater arts teacher to being working on films and on the crew to being I settled into finally, as you know, being a trainer, a training manager, and did that for a good, gosh, 25, 30 years. And then now, at the age of 55, I decided to change and be a flight attendant, which is probably what I should have done back in my 20s, but I didn't. Um, and it's interesting because rather than saying, "Gosh, I should have done that back in my 20s. I missed my chance." I was able to find something that I know you want to talk about a little bit that was okay. You didn't do it then, so do it now. I've been able to find a couple of things in my life that I didn't do it then, but I'm doing it now. And for all kinds of different reasons, I think in our lives, we don't do things, at certain times or, think, oh, I could never do that. I'm not smart enough, or, I'm not rich enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or
Or
I'm
I
not
don't have the
thin
right
enough.
education. I don't have the
Right,
certifications or
right.
blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't have a college degree, so I can't do that, or I can't do this, or I don't have a grad degree, or I need a PhD to do this. Whatever it is, it was always me that stopped me from doing things. It wasn't other people, because other people would, say, "Well, why are you doing that?" And I would say, "Well, because, I want to." My mom was always like, "Gosh, why are you doing that? It's so hard. It's so hard." And I would say, "Well, because it's important. It's important to me."
Hmm.
And it's something to this day, my mom is like, why are you doing this again? Why? And,
Moms,
some,
they're all well-meaning. You know it, Kelly. You are one.
yeah, yeah. But it's something that I've done, as you know, at the ripe young age of 55, I decided to stop working at a very solid big insurance company where I was working as a training manager, and make about a fourth of what I was making in uh, the world
Mm.
of being a flight attendant. And it, I love it.
So
I
I
absolutely
I
love it.
love your story, that because when you called me to tell me that you had an interview, you didn't even tell me that you put in an application. Can you tell us about that process? Because it's such a great story of how you actually even made it in and the trial and tribulations you had to go through.
I will. I will. And I had thought about being a flight attendant before, but
Hmm.
I had never done it. And it's a couple of different reasons. One is because I've always weighed a lot more than I weigh right now. I weighed about 100 pounds more than I do right now most of my life. And so I always thought, I can't do it. I'm too heavy.
Mm.
And rather than trying to fix that, I was just like, I can't do it. I'm too heavy, and it was just like, poo-pooed and put to the side. I can't, because this is my excuse.
Hmm.
And,
Hmm.
and then it was, well, I'm living in New York City and my bedroom is so small, I have to crawl in my bed from the bottom of my bed, which is true. of years. I couldn't even get on the sides of my bed because, you know, living in New York City, crawling in from the bottom, and didn't thought I couldn't afford it. I didn't have the money. I let excuses my whole life stop me from doing a lot of things. But I was unhappy a couple of years ago. I was unhappy with my job, very unhappy, for a lot of different reasons. Our director had changed, our manager had changed, my job description has pretty much changed, and I was just really unhappy. And I was on Facebook one day, and what came across was Southwest Airlines is going to hire flight attendants, and it's really hard to become a flight attendant, and they only take about 4%, and thousands of people apply, and you know, almost no one gets in. And I kind of thought, ha ha ha, gonna apply. Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be funny? And so in January of 2023, I put in an application. And the way that they do it is crazy. They take applications, like they give you a date and they say you can put in an application between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And then other than that, it shuts down because they don't want a million applications. I mean, they still get 1,000. So I logged on and the website shut down, and I logged on again and the website shut down, and finally got got my application in, and then just kind of forgot about it and went on with my life. Never heard anything. It was kind of like, oh, ha ha ha, remember that time I thought I could be a flight attendant. And then in August of 23, I got an email, and it was from Southwest Airlines, and they said, we want you to come to Dallas and interview. And I was like, what? And I had not told my friends, I had not told my family, I had not told anyone that I was doing this. So then I had to go to my husband and say, oh, hey,
I can only imagine that conversation.
I'm going to take off work on Friday, and I'm flying to Dallas from New Jersey, and I'm going to apply to be a flight attendant. And it was like,
What?
you know that sound when the you're playing a record and it makes a scratch and it goes,
Yeah.
you know, and everything stops. That's basically what my life did. And I went for this interview and interviewed with they have two people there. They have a flight attendant who is on a special team for hiring folks, and then they have someone from HR. And I went in and I had no idea what to expect. I didn't prep. I didn't get ready. I didn't really study. I mean, I knew about Southwest Airlines growing up in Texas and loved it and knew it was the airline with heart and all that good stuff. But I went into this interview really kind of unprepared. And
but is this the time where they were standing outside the door shaking pom-poms and playing music?
that was after I was hired.
Okay.
I was hired. Well, but what happened was I went to this interview. Oh, you're talking about,
because you said I found my people or something like that.
I went to this interview and there was this huge, huge room, and it had airplanes hanging from the ceiling, and there were probably 150 people in this, and they were all dressed to be flight attendants. You know, they were all dressed with the scarf and the suit. And when I went in, everyone was very, very nervous, of course, when I went, to Dallas. And all of a sudden, somebody came on and said they wanted to introduce us to one of their flight attendants. His name was Robert. And all of a sudden, ABBA music came on, Dancing Queen. So it was like, oh, it was the Dancing Queen. And this man, who I kid you not is in his 70s, that he has dyed eyelashes and he wears makeup and he had pom-poms, and he went around with the biggest smile on his face and shook his pom-poms at everyone sitting there to ABBA, Dancing Queen. And he just went and he shook his pom-poms and he shook his pom-poms, and everybody started clapping. And I was like, I have found my people. I literally thought, I have found my people. This is so different than working for a gray insurance company in New Jersey. This is it. So I went in for the interview, and long story short, they took out a pair of the plastic little wings that they give to kids, and they put it on the desk, and they said, I want to be the first one to welcome you for Southwest Airlines. And I literally did this. There were two people here. I literally went open mouth and looked side to side like this. And my response was, are you serious? And they both started shaking their heads and said, yes, we are serious. You are exactly what we would like to have here at Southwest Airlines, blah, blah, blah. So it was crazy, you know, and then I called my husband and said they hired me on the spot. And his answer was, are you serious? That was his
Serious.
response. Are you serious? And I'm like, I'm serious. And so anyway, that was it. I went to training the next spring. I've been doing it. My graduation date was almost a full year ago.
Kelly, you're missing out such a huge part of like why you got that job with like you almost didn't get in because you had to defer.
Oh yeah. Oh, see, here's the other thing that happened. When I started looking at when they train you, you have to fly to Dallas and stay there for a month, unpaid, to go to school and to learn everything. And I, of course, have bills. You know, I have a house and a young daughter and husband and car payment and all that good stuff. And so I was getting a bonus coming to me from the prior year, from the insurance company. And it was significant. And I realized I wasn't really going to be able to make it this, you know, month with no pay. And, you know, when you start out, you're not making a whole lot of money. I needed this insurance. So I had deferred my class to start. And I deferred, and then I ended up having to defer again. I thought I was going to get my money at the first of a month and then didn't get it until the next month. And I'm like, I can't do this unless I have this money. It was all pivotal on this money. And they said, no, we're sorry. You can only defer one time. You know, you'll have to join it later, you know, you'll have to apply again and start the process over. And I was like, shoot, no, I'm not going to do that. No. What can I do? What can I do? How can I make this work? And I'm like, I'm going to make a PowerPoint. I'm a trainer. I know how to make PowerPoints, really good ones. So I made a really rocking PowerPoint, and I did it in the color of Southwest Airlines, and I had pictures. I made it flashy. I made it wonderful. And it was all about, and I used the language of Southwest Airlines, being that they have a servant's heart. They have cohorts instead of coworkers. They have a warrior spirit. And so I used their language in my PowerPoint to show that I had the warrior spirit and that I, you know, had all of these things that they need. Exactly. And I got a email back and said, we loved your PowerPoint. I talked to my manager. We're going to make an exception for you. And this is your start date.
Oh, I love that
And
story. I love that story. So
and it was such an amazing thing. I've now taught my 13-year-old daughter, though, if she wants anything, she can make a PowerPoint and make it happen. Which
Oh,
not always
persistent.
the
well,
case.
you
She
know.
wanted a puppy. She wanted a puppy and she made a PowerPoint, and I still said no. But
Hey, but at least she made the PowerPoint. I love it.
she did. She didn't give up, which has been the kind of the thing you can't give up. You cannot give up.
I love that.
And part of this is trying to show my daughter, don't give up, because things get hard. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Because it was hard. It was hard. It's still hard. Physically, it's much harder than I thought it would be. I thought it was just, you know, walking around and serving people soda. It's not. It is
Right.
not. And it's been such a learning experience, and I love it, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that I did it.
I love the
Great
theme
story.
coming through this. Yeah, of just the thread of persistence and resilience, right? I didn't do it then, but I can do it now. They said no, but I'm going to go back. Like, just what a beautiful story for your daughter, right? An example. Keep you keep taking your shots.
Right.
So I'm really curious, absolutely, Mel, and just to build on that for a moment. Um, what, yes, you seem like you're a very determined kind of individual, and you took this leap that many people would not take. What do you attribute that to, Kelly?
It's interesting that you describe me as being determined, because most of my life I would not describe myself that way. I would not describe myself as determined. I have always allowed myself and to talk myself out of things. It was me standing in my way. And I think a lot of it goes back to, of course, childhood.
Yeah,
A
of
lot of
course.
it goes
Mhm.
back to a mom that said, if it's hard, why do it? It goes to, a father that was always watching, my brother play soccer, but not me. Why? I don't know. Because I wasn't very good, so, and he was, so, that was something. But along about what I started doing is trying to do things that were hard and that scared me. And I started with becoming a scuba diver about 3 years ago. And that's another thing that I had always wanted to do, but always thought, oh, I can't because it's too expensive. Oh, I can't because I'm too heavy. Oh, I can't because it's too this or it's too that. And I always talk myself out of it.
I can't because
And
I'm old.
yeah, I can't because I'm too old. And so I said, you know what? This is something you've wanted to do for a long time, and it's something that's really kind of scary, but I want to try to do something that makes me live outside my world. COVID had just happened, or COVID,
Mhm.
and my I felt my world shrinking. I felt my world getting smaller. I had not done anything since
Mm.
maybe like putting myself through college or something like that, that was hard. I mean, everything in life was just reasonably easy. I had a job that was reasonably easy to do. It was reasonably easy to do this. It was reasonably, and I hadn't done anything that was really, really scary for me in a long, long time. And when I started taking the scuba classes and I put on that 50-pound pack and got in that swimming pool for the very first time, I was flopping around like a drunken sea turtle. Seriously, just slapping around, getting choked, um, gasping for breath, freaking out at the bottom of the pool and shooting up to the top, which is the first thing you're not supposed to do. And
Mhm.
I am like, shit, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What in the world am I
Mhm.
thinking? Why
Mhm.
am I doing this? This is crazy. This is stupid. I should have done this 30 years ago. But I didn't want to quit. And part of that is, I think, proving to myself
Mhm.
that I can do hard things, that I can do hard things, because through much of my life, if it was hard, I just stopped. This is too hard. I'm not going to do it because of XYZ excuses. And having a 13-year-old daughter, I didn't want her to see her mom quit because something was too hard. And
Mhm.
having that external part of it made me try to do things. And I had to do it in slow, small steps. I couldn't
Mhm.
just go on a boat and go into the middle of the ocean, because that's scary. It's still scary. It is still scary for me. Every time I jump off a boat, it's scary. But I just, one step at a time, one step at a time. And just kind of it's almost like a meditation that you can
Mhm.
do underwater, where you hear your breath, and you have to be very calm, because guess what happens if you're 80 feet underwater and you're not calm and you freak out? That's bad. That is bad, because you can't breathe underwater. So
Mhm.
I would say
Mhm.
doing something even though it terrified me. And
Mhm.
then once I was able to do the scuba, then I was able to apply to be a flight attendant. And then now maybe I'll be able to do the next thing. And with every small accomplishment that I was scared to death to do, but I did, it made it easier to do the next one. and a little easier to do the next one and a little easier.
Mm.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that. It sounds like what you're doing, not to get too psychological, but I will, because that's the way my brain works.
Go
It
for
sounds
it.
like you're also kind of breaking generational patterns, Kelly. You talked
Ooh,
about your
good
mom
insight,
saying to
Naomi.
you, right? You know, why do it? It's too hard. Perhaps she got, I don't know, perhaps she got similar messages and you're changing that and it will change for your daughter.
I certainly hope so. I I'm intentionally trying to do that for my daughter. I want her to see the world that's beyond this South Jersey place where we live, because that's something that I didn't have. I didn't leave the country until after I graduated from high school, and I thought that all that I had was what was right in front of me. And I'm going to try to make it different for her because I want her to believe that she can do anything. Because I
Mhm.
think with hard work, you can do most anything, even if you're old, or even if your body's not working as well as it used to.
Yeah, but I think it's more than just hard work too. I think it's finding a connection also to what you're doing. Because I mean, you think about it, you worked hard, but it wasn't the same as it is now,
Mhm,
because you're following a passion or an interest. It's like you kind of
mhm,
fell into training because you had been a teacher and you wanted to be an actress. And, at least when you're teaching, you get to stand up and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you and I have a commonality there, right? Um,
mhm,
but I think at the same time, it's like not just working hard, but also working smart because you're using your brain on how to do it, you know?
mhm. I think what you just said, Lauren, is so insightful. It's that connection, right, to kind of this finding a an outlet for something that's really authentic to you, right?
I,
So it isn't, right, it is not, it is hard work and it's also courage,
Yeah.
which is a little bit different than hard work.
Yeah, and I'll also add, Kelly, I remember when you started at the insurance company, that was hard work because, like you said, not your people. Not that you didn't
yeah,
work with nice people and friendly
yeah,
people and all that, but I remember you saying that they gave you advice when you first started there that if you got on the elevator with the CEO, don't say a word.
right, right. If you find yourself on the elevator with a CEO, don't speak to him. Don't engage. I was like, what? What? I found that the folks that worked at the insurance company, again, they were very nice, lovely people, but they were very different than me, different personality types. A lot of folks that were um, numbers based, medical based, very kind of scientific, uh, just their
Hmm.
brains work different than the way and I came on and was doing an onboarding class and I was telling jokes, and I was the only one doing that. And, as a flight attendant, I'm still telling jokes. Like that's just what I do. And I want to make people happy and laugh and, do what you need to do as well. But I want to lighten it up a little bit. And I found very serious people, very serious at the insurance company. And it just wasn't my place.
Yeah,
It was very corporate, if that makes sense. Super
yeah,
corporate.
Is there any aspects, like it feels like you're describing really different environments, like the corporate versus Southwest. But I'm wondering, is there any similarities that you've like where you're like, I still do this, like I still use these skills here?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that has been a common thread through pretty much everything that I think I've ever done.
Mhm,
Um, because I think the true essence of who you are will come out no matter where you are. And the way that in this very corporate environment, I would try to make it fun and I would play music and I would tell jokes and I would do things like that on our breaks. I find I do the exact same thing on the plane, the same thing on the plane, except it's easier. I find
because
you
it's
can say
allowed.
almost Yeah.
And
You can
encouraged.
say almost anything to anybody if you're wearing a flight attendant uniform. It's amazing. It is freaking amazing. In an airport, you can walk up to anybody, you can say anything, and it's okay because hey, you're a flight attendant. Cool. It's great. But I found I did that. The part of my job that I liked at the insurance company was when I was in the classroom, the actual being in the classroom and interacting with the people. That part was good. Everything else that went with it that they made me do, I didn't want to do. I didn't want to do. And it became more and more and more over the years. And it was just, the job just got,
So,
I didn't enjoy it as much.
yeah. So here's the thing. I remember when you were, deciding to leave and, a lot of the conversations we'd had right before that. Do you think at work, if it had been different, you might not have ever even applied to Southwest?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Even if you saw that email, right?
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
If we had a director retire and we got a new director that was in another area, similar,
Mhm.
but not training. It wasn't learning and development. And all of a sudden, the focus became all of that department's goals
Mhm.
and priorities and not learning and development. And then they let our manager go, who we loved, the team loved. And I would have walked to Newark and back for this manager because she believed in me. Wherever I am, I need to know that people appreciate me and
Mhm.
believe in me. I think everybody does, really.
Right. Yeah,
Even people that say they don't care, they care.
they do.
So anyway, we got a new manager who tried, but I didn't feel the support. And it was really once we got the new manager and I started really feeling the lack of support that I really became unhappy with where I was and like seriously started looking for something else. It was the management.
Mhm.
Plus the job changed, but the job change didn't weigh as heavily on my mind as it was the feeling. It was the
Mhm.
feel. The
Yeah, no,
feeling I was not getting
yeah,
from
you had that old cliche, people don't leave companies, they leave
Mhm.
leaders.
They've
that's
Mhm.
actually
exactly.
research on that too, right? You're like a living example of the research that says
Exactly.
people
Exactly.
leave.
Yeah.
They leave
That
because
Mhm.
of
is
the direct leader.
that is
Mhm.
exactly what it was. And it was hard because it was a very solid job and it made a nice salary and it had wonderful benefits and it was secure and I, it was hard. It's still hard. I have an appointment to do my taxes next week and I have my W-2s from both jobs and I'm like, what am I
What?
thinking?
Mhm. To that end, Kelly, I'm curious. It sounds like, you left a job because it really wasn't, to use this kind of language, there was it wasn't enough of feeding your spirit, energizing you what you needed. So I'm very curious about now that you're in this new job and it really feels like, yes, right, I'm in this space. It's great energy. It's my tribe, as you said. Have you noticed it impacting other areas of your life?
Mm.
Absolutely. My relationship with my family, I think, is better. My relationship with my husband is better because I'm a happier person. I
Mm.
am, I was so depressed
Hmm.
at the insurance company and just walking around in a fog and didn't want to do my work. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to get it. It felt like a monumental thing just to get out of bed and face the day. I just did not want to do anything. Everything was a monumental task, no matter what it was. And I don't find that I feel a lot lighter.
Mhm.
Not that things aren't still hard and there's still,
Mhm.
lots of challenges, but
Mhm.
I feel lighter. And I
Mhm.
feel that it's just easier to do the things that you have to do every day in life. Go to the grocery store is easier. It's easier to do my laundry. I
Wow.
know that
Mhm.
sounds funny, but
No,
it
Mhm.
but
it it is. I'm not as sad. I'm not as sad as I was.
Mm.
Mhm.
I think what's
So it,
resonating. Oh, go, Naomi.
no, I just was going to say, I just wanted to say, so when you look at your W-2s and you look at the dollar signs, you have to go, oh, was it worth it for this higher dollar sign? And I think from what you're saying, you would have to land in absolutely not, right? What's the return on your personal investment in this new venture? Is it sounds like it's it can't really be measured in something like a dollar sign on a piece of paper.
I would say yes, because there certainly are some new challenges that I can't, things that I can't afford that I could afford earlier, things I
Mhm.
can't, explaining to my daughter why we're not going to go buy a new pair of shoes today just because like we could have maybe before.
Mhm. Yeah.
um and getting her to kind of come around to the way that I'm feeling. But it took me a long time to explain it to my family, my husband and my daughter, to really try to make them understand, because they did not understand. They did
Right.
not.
Yeah.
It took me months just to convince my husband to let me try this. I finally convinced him by saying, listen, I am miserable right now, not with you, but with my job
Mhm.
and with my life and with
Mhm.
myself. I am miserable. I said,
Mm.
can you give me 2 years? Give me 2 years to try this. And if we are bankrupt or we are losing the house, or which I knew wouldn't, none of this would happen. But I said, if it is really, really horrible and it's too hard, I will go back to training. I will find another job in training, but I want you to give me 2 years. And by putting that time limit on it,
Mm.
um,
Mhm.
he felt a little better about letting me try. But it was and being supportive. He's a lot more supportive about it now.
Oh, good,
Mhm.
Um,
good, good. Yeah.
which is good.
I think it's a great lesson that that might be like another fear that holds people back, you know, is just, do you get the support from the family,
Yeah.
right? And that's huge in itself. So, demonstrating the fact that, you know, having that good crucial conversation with, your spouse, because that's an element some people might not have.
It is, and I feel incredibly fortunate that I have a husband that did come around and support me, because I know not everyone does. And that certainly can be, a reason to not
Yeah. This
make a
makes
Yeah.
me
shift.
this makes me think about, corporations, companies, organizations, the huge impact that they have on our lives. And, sometimes they're like, don't bring your home life to work, don't bring your work life to home. That is impossible. I think that that is just the biggest myth. And even people who say, "Oh, I never bring this, I compartmentalize." And I'm thinking they're not really, because I'm just thinking like if companies could be less about the bottom line and more about the people, the odd thing is that the bottom line would improve organically. I mean,
Mm.
I don't know. I'm going to get off topic, so I'm not going to do that. But it's
I
just
have a
making me think about like the impact that companies have on people and their lives and their mental health,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. It's crazy to me that happens.
So Mel, you were about to say something?
yeah, I have a
Yeah.
question for Kelly. Like, I have so enjoyed this conversation, by the way. And I'm feeling like there's these themes running through it of like perseverance and resilience and courage and like the importance of belonging. And I'm wondering, like, we've all done career shifts, but not like yours, which feels like in a completely different lane. Like, what advice do you have for people who would be listening and thinking there's this, like, I didn't do that then? What would you tell them to step into?
I would say if to maybe start with small changes, start with small things that they would like to make a shift with if there's a shift in their life. It's interesting that you say that because as I was leaving, I was doing a class for director level people at the insurance company. And I didn't know these directors. And my boss came, told everyone, thank you so much for coming. And by the way, this is Kellie's last week with the company. She's going to be a flight attendant. And everyone went, ooh. And and I just somebody asked me a question and I just spoke to, some of the reasons that, I had always wanted to do it. And, I definitely made it that I was going towards something instead of I hate this place, but um, and the next day I got an email from one of those directors that I had never met before. And she said, just want you to know what an inspiration you are for me. And I was like, what? And what you are doing, I think is brave. It's something that I've wanted to do for years that I haven't been able to do. And I think you're inspirational and I wish you the best of luck.
Oh, wow.
And I wrote her back, and I said, thank you so much and everything. But if I had had a chance to actually talk to her, I think I would have, in addition to listening to what she wanted to do, I think you have to start with those small things. I think you have to be able to accomplish one small thing, and then it can maybe then give you the courage to do the next thing, and to give you the courage to do the next thing, and the courage to do the next thing. We have a person that's here in this South Jersey area who grew up in this area who will not drive on the highway by herself. She will not drive on the highway. She will only stay in her small little place. And uh, I think that's, to me, that's just hard to understand. But for someone that maybe is used to having a smaller world, it needs to start very small. They can't just tomorrow say, I'm going to go and be a whatever it is, restaurant manager, or whatever it is. I think you have to start with the small things, and you have to do it while you are scared, because all of the things that I've done, I didn't know if they were going to work out and I was scared to do them. But I'm like, you know what? I don't know if this is going to work out or not, but I am going to do it. And then if I was able to accomplish something, then it was easier to try the next thing. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's try it anyway. What's the worst that could happen?
Mm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
get a little something that's positive and then go to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that because I don't think most people are able to just totally change and do something else. And honestly, that wasn't, I mean, it seems like that's what I did, but I had a lot of small steps getting there as well. I didn't just bam.
Yeah.
It took a lot of thought and a lot of work and a lot of practice and just a lot of retrospection as
Yeah.
well.
I think
Mhm.
another thing too, it's almost, not to be, super spiritual or whatever, but I think about, you seeing that email from Southwest and doing the application and then kind of closing the computer, walking away, going back to your life, almost forgetting about it to some extent. It was almost like you put a message to the universe that said, I'm ready to do something different. And that almost like gave you time too, right? and then it came to you. And I think that that's an important lesson too, that sometimes, as people and as, the four of us are women, and we all have daughters, and, maybe teaching them to say, put it out in the universe of what it is that you really want, and then it'll come to you. That's what happened to me with coaching. you know I kind of wrote out on a sheet of paper, and I put it in a folder and put it away, and then all of a sudden I discovered life coaching in 1998 in a magazine article, right? So I just think it's like, what do we manifest when we do just even something small like that?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you're right. It definitely, action begets action. You take
Mhm.
you take that step. You take it scared. You take it not knowing if it will be successful, but you take it. You've got to take the step. You've got to take the step. And if it works, fabulous. If it doesn't, that's okay too. You learn from it and then you take a different step, maybe in a different, but just one step. Everybody can take one step.
Yeah.
One step.
I love that
Mhm.
call out just small, like just move. It reminds me of a leader that I worked for very early in my career, and he was very young to be a CEO. And I said, "How do you know what to do?" And he said, "Sometimes it's just about forward momentum."
Mm,
Right.
And I've always thought about that ever since. Sometimes it's just about forward momentum.
And then once you take that one step and you get a little bit of momentum, then you see another step you might could
Yeah.
take. And you
Yeah.
wouldn't see
Mhm.
that second step if you hadn't done the first step.
Yeah.
Mhm.
very, very, very poignant. So we
Mhm.
have had a amazing time, and I know that you and me and Naomi and Mel could probably talk for another 6 hours.
Yes.
Um, so we have like one last question, and I'm gonna pivot just slightly from, Mel's kind of doing the, what advice would you give for people wanting to make a change? And I'm gonna ask, you were an amazing talent for that insurance company. Like, you were gifted at being a teacher and a facilitator and a a coach and helper of other leaders, and they lost a good piece of talent. And there's a lot of people that happens to all the time. What advice would you give to leaders right now as they look and scan their team?
In addition to, supporting your team, I think a lot of managers try to change people on their team. I think they look at some of their strengths and their weaknesses and they say, oh, well, this person's not great with Excel spreadsheets. She needs to take a class on Excel spreadsheets, instead of seeing that this person might be really good at making PowerPoints that are awesome. And let's raise that a little bit. Like, and this other, maybe another part of the team, is fabulous at making Excel spreadsheets, is not as great at the PowerPoint. Okay, well then I think they have to feed into the strengths. I don't think they always have to work on what people might see as a weakness. I mean, you might be in a job where you need to do, something that you're not the greatest at. And yes, you can develop your people and you have growth opportunities. But if you try to make someone do all the time something that they have been clear that they do not like, they do not enjoy, and that stresses them out, and you keep wanting to make them do that and get better at
Mm,
that, that person is going to be unhappy.
Mm.
They're going to
Mhm.
be unhappy with that job. And sooner or later, they are going to leave it because
mhm.
nobody wants to be in a constant state of unhappiness and stress.
Right.
Yeah.
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 So I would say develop people in a way that they would like to be developed. Keep
Mhm.
that communication open, that you can not only find that out about people, but try to help people. Like with goals every year, the last couple of years with my new manager, I was given goals. Given goals. This is what you're doing. You're doing this, this, and this. Whereas with the other manager, I would say, hey, I want to have a goal for this, a goal for this, and a goal for this. Whereas then I was kind of being dictated to, you're doing this. And I'm
That's
like,
so huge.
Mm,
That's so cute.
mhm,
Really great
mhm,
advice, Kelly. Yeah. So two things, right? Things that all four of us know for sure, right? Make sure that you're zoning in on what they're really good at and make it align with organizational goals. And then, be involved with them with their goals. Don't just dictate.
mhm.
Partnership.
Simple to say, but people they just don't get it sometimes.
they
And maybe
don't, they
pressure from
don't.
up above too, right?
Yeah.
So all right, before we start switching into a whole nother topic about that, Kelly, thank you so much for being
Yeah,
here today. I've loved this conversation.
yeah. So
Thank you
good
so
to,
much for
yeah, just so good to see you and to know that,
Great.
this leap of faith is really working for you.
Yeah,
it is. Thank you so much. It's great to see you all again as well. And thank you so much for having me on. And best of luck with this. This is a great
thank,
platform.
thank you, Kelly,
Thanks.
and we'll talk to you
Kelly.
soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Oh my gosh, I
That
could
was
Yeah.
talk to
so
you
awesome because
forever.
she's coming back, right?
So yeah, 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 yeah. But I wanted to kind of like do our little like breakdown. So what did you think? What was your big takeaways?
I had a lot of takeaways.
Mm,
I loved when she talked about the world getting smaller, right? And that her wanting to challenge that her world felt like it was getting smaller, and the that I didn't do it then, but I can do it now, and the self-awareness about that it was her own excuses that were stopping her. Like she's such a self-aware person, and
Uh-huh.
so much, Naomi, when you said courage, that's what I was thinking too, like so much courage, which is very different than hard work. Um, yeah, I feel like there were so many takeaways. What about for you guys?
mhm,
I think for me it was, and we never even touched upon this, was that, she needed to be her authentic self. And Naomi, you talk about authenticity a lot
mhm,
and how important
mhm,
it is for you. And I think even though a lot of us don't talk about it, I think it's important for all of us. And it was clear for
mhm,
Kelly, that um as a leader, you need to let your people be their authentic self, and you as a person need to find alignment.
mhm.
Mm,
Absolutely. And just the what came to me as you were talking is what struck me is how she described her state of being in the insurance agency towards the latter part of her being there.
Hmm.
That, and Marcus Buckingham talks about this as well, right? That
Yeah.
if you stay in a job that is truly loveless for you,
Mm.
which is with the changes in her manager and and so it wasn't just the work, it was also who she reported to. It
Hmm.
really put her in this space of being depressed and being sad and feeling like just going to the grocery store was a lot. It was hard, right? And so the toll that it takes on us when we're not in a space where there's even a little bit of what fills you or enough of what really fills you up. So I thought
mm,
that for me, that's really an
mm,
important message, um,
Yeah.
that her life has borne out, her
Hmm.
experience in life. And it is true that there are some times in our lives when we have to do stuff. I've been there, laid
Yeah.
off after 9/11. Took me 2 years to find another job, had three part-time jobs, stuff that I wouldn't necessarily have said, oh, this is what I want to do, but
Right.
needed to make some money. But even in those circumstances, I was able to find some pieces of the work that
Yeah.
that lifted my spirit. So I think this idea of doing having things in our lives that lift our spirits is really important.
mm. Naomi, I love that. And if I could build on that, like that idea of like the Marcus talks about the red threads, right? Like, can you
Yeah.
find the threads of the things that you love? And it also made me think of like how important that sense of belonging is too, right? Like she described that I didn't feel like I belonged in
Mm-hmm.
that environment, and
Yeah.
how hard is it to sustain when you feel like you don't belong.
Yeah.
Um, and the importance
Yep.
of finding a spot,
Yeah.
a place where you feel like you belong, where you belong. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Naomi and I used to talk about at our last gig, our last job, what we would always talk about, things that were happening in the organization, and we go, "Oh my gosh, we could have helped. Like we could have helped if they had involved us." And we used to joke around saying, "Oh, we're in the basement, literally, because our offices were in the and figuratively, like we were in the
Right.
basement, like just out of sight, out of mind, quite often." And that was always frustrating, but what an inspiration too.
Mm,
Kelly's like, all of a sudden we're gonna be doing this recording and I'm like, okay, like, what am I gonna do to like move myself more forward now? What's that small step? She's like great, like, she really talked about what was in the sphere of her control and this, taking that small step. Like she couldn't change her environment at work, but she's like, what I can do is here.
And right. And that she started with, I mean, she mentioned she started with taking on something that she had been afraid of all her life, which was scuba diving, which she
Right.
wanted to do, which had nothing to do with her job, but it gave her a sort of a, she started to build a sense of confidence
Yeah.
yeah.
in taking on stuff that was hard. And we can do
Yeah.
hard things. Like
And
people,
she mentioned, right, that, weight had been an issue, but you notice that she lost weight, but that wasn't her goal. Her goal was to do scuba diving and become a flight attendant, and it like almost like organically happened, like naturally happened. You know what I mean? And I think that
That's
that's
that kind of
lovely
alignment
too.
piece, right?
Yeah, like there was a positive um side effect to her
Mm,
following her authentic self and doing that. And I think that and the improvement with her family and relationship with her family.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. So wonderful.
absolutely.
What a wonderful day today. I love that we get to do what we do. Speaking of, I
I
found my
agree.
people. You guys are my people.
I
And this
agree.
is this
Yeah,
was my
yeah,
red thread. So
yeah.
once again, thank you, my best friends, besties, for coming on this journey with me and meeting some wonderful people and hopefully maybe having a ripple effect to someone else. So
Yeah.
thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you all. Good to see you. Have a great weekend.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so very much for spending some time with us. We hope you got something out of this episode. Now, if you liked it, do us a huge favor and take a moment and hit the like button. Did you do it? Thanks. Now, are you curious about who is next? Well, then please subscribe to the podcast. It'll help our channel so very much if you do choose to subscribe. Because, of course, the more subscriptions we get, the more opportunities we have to scale up our production, the types of guests we can have, and overall improve on what we can do to make the experience you want and might need. I feel like I sound like a public radio station fundraiser right now. Well, I guess that makes sense because we want you to come back again. So hit that subscribe button. It's super easy. Thanks so much, and we can't wait for you to join us for our next episode of Best Friends at Work.